Welcome, YouTube. This is Patrick, and I am back with another edition of Heavy Therapy. This is me back in my review corner, and I want to review the 2022 debut album from the Montral, Quebec progressive death grind act, Regress, and their album, A World of Concern. A World of Concern was released by Life After Death Productions, and it came out um, earlier in this year, middle January, early February, somewhere around there. I picked up the cassette version, and it is also out on CD. And Regress, it is spelled RGRSS. And we will talk about the artwork. We'll talk about the lyrics. Here it is one more time. Regress, a world of concern. Comes with this cool black shell. And again, it is also out on CD. This is a 4-piece from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. You get 9 tracks, 33 minutes, and 51 seconds of music. And yes, the subgenre is progressive death metal, progressive death grind. But I think some uh, context, some similar bands might help you get in mind what Regress sound like. So, picture Napalm Death, picture the band Wake. Regress, a world of concern, sounds like Wake for the most part. Wake, I would say, is who they sound like the most. Bring Napalm Death's sort of dynamic song compositions, hardcore punk, grindcore, thrash. Put that part of Napalm Death with Wake into a blender, and you get Regress. So I knew nothing about this band. I saw that they had an album out because I follow this great account on metal Twitter called K-Man Riffs, and K-Man Riffs always posts all of the albums that are coming out in extreme music every Friday. He actually posts them my time, Thursday night. I see Regress. I see that it was a progressive death grind band, and I see this album art, and I knew I wanted to check them out. And first track is called Thanatophobia, which is the fear of dying. It's a killer grinding, mashing opening kick in the teeth. It's a minute long, and yeah, I was immediately enraptured. I'm like, what is this going to be? Then track 2 is called Innocence, and it's the same kind of death grind, but it's longer, replete with squeals and some killer tempo and rhythm changes on the guitar work. And towards the end, you get this gnarly, audible bass line just jumps out at you. If you aren't hooked after this 1-2 punch, you might not like Death Grind. This is a masterclass in Death Grind, in my opinion. Then you get Opinion Leaders. This has this great start-stop opening riff, opening section. Think of a Malignant Altar, maybe. And then the song kicks into this sick, heavy as nails riff. In my notes I wrote, if you like Cannibal Corpse style Vox meets Napalm Death, you get this catchy grind song. Track 4 is called Social Construction. And this core of the song is a hardcore punk D beat rhythm. And you just get this sense that this is a special death grind album. The progressive element of this band comes out through and through, actually, all parts of this album the more you listen. The bass line is audible, the atmosphere that's created, the sort of unpredictable structure of the songs, uh, and tempo and time changes throughout, to me, does, and even just the technical riff style does put you in mind of some progressive metal, some technical death metal as well. Track 5 is one of the shorter tracks after the very short intro track, Ego Death. And here's what I wrote. This is a death grind rager that opens up into this full of hell type point counterpoint breakdown that itself turns into this gnarly tremolo guitar riff that sounds like black metal. So here you have black metal coming in. You have death metal. You have grindcore. You have hardcore punk. The guitar tone is, yeah, like a heavy type of grindcore, fuzzy, not HM2. It's a really gnarly, perfect grindcore guitar tone. And it ends with this perfect feedback, and you have a just track 5 is really to real. Track 5 and 6 are probably my favorite tracks on the album. Track 6 is called Wrong Wire. Yeah, this calls to mind technical death metal, malignant altar, enigmatum. There's this swirling cacophony throughout this song, and then there's this Gajira string bend part. That's how I think of it. I think of Gajira when I hear this string bend. Wrong Wire, awesome song, one of the longest songs. And the way that they structure this album is you get a very short minute and 3 second intro. It's not an intro, it's a song. 3.5 minute song that follows that. Track 3 is about 3.5 minutes. The final three tracks, besides the last track, which is just this uh sort of this ending, just like a track of ambient noise. So the final three full tracks, track 6, Wrong Wire, track 7, Sickening Illusion, track 8, Fear of Silence, are the three longest songs on the album. Track 7 is Sickening Illusion. It's the longest track, 6 minutes, 47 seconds. Straight death grind. Daryl Brunetti is a guest vocalist on this track. He's in the technical death metal band Derelict. Should say his brother Frank Brunetti is the guitarist and backup vocals. This band, again, really, what calls to mind, this album really calls Wake to mind for me. And Wake is one of my favorite modern progressive death metal bands. So that is a high compliment coming from me. And I mean all the way from the top. The vocals, the drumming style, the song, atmosphere, style, all of it reminds me of Wake. The final track, Fear of Silence, awesome drum fill at the beginning, this chuggy groove, and there you have it, right? A 34-minute, tight, concise, but loose. When I say concise, I just mean, 34 minutes. Songs aren't overproduced. It's a perfectly produced, perfectly composed, progressive death grind album. I didn't say before. I told you they were a 4-piece. I told you Francis is on guitars and backup vocals. So on vocals you have Nicola Nuciarone. His brother Dominic is on drums, and they're both in another technical death metal band called Intonate. And I've never heard them, so I'm excited to check them out. So I can't tell you if they sound alike. I'd never heard of them. So Regress is going to make me check out the members' other work. And then you have Alex Bow on bass. And I'm going to talk about the lyrics coming up. So let's pivot to my scores. Musicianship. This this band is really tight, great musicians. It's hard as a non-musician and someone who's basically illiterate when it comes to actually talking about formal music, understanding and theory and chord structure, and I know none of that. So I hate to really give it a number, but hey, this is my review, and I am making myself do so. I'm going to give creativity an 8.5. Not too many bands that I have heard of that sound like this. Like I said, I think of Wake, I think of Napalm Death, I think of Full of Hell. Some parts remind me of Gojira, but they really sound like their own entity. Creativity, another 8.5. I like you'll have a really fast grind part, you'll have a killer groove, you'll have uh, awesome audible bass lines, you'll have section after section that never becomes stale, never becomes predictable, but there's plenty of memorable hooks throughout this album too, especially the more you listen. Uh, Nicola's vocal performance also gives you some hooks. Again, this kind of music, right? It sometimes takes quite a number of listens, but you can really start catching on with his delivery, where he places words and vocals in the songs start to become familiar, and you can really sing along to it. So vocals and lyrics, again, hard to describe his vocals other than he literally sounds like the vocalist of Wake. Good news for me. Let's talk about the lyrics. I'm actually going to give vocals and lyrics um 9.5, 10. So this right here looks like a person wearing a mask is mugging a person who's also wearing a mask. It's actually more like a mummy, like a mummification. And then again, the closer you look, they both have a weapon in their hand. It's in a back alley. It's called A World of Concern. But the lyrics, I think track one and I think the final track really tell you the story. Track one is called Thanatophobia, which again is the fear of dying. But all throughout this album, you really get the sense of they're trying to paint the picture of most of our fear and anxiety and concern is an illusion, uh, and you need to experience ego death, and you need to realize that a lot of these fears and concerns are just products of your ego. And the final track really tells you this straight up. So here's some of the last lyrics of the album. The random nature of fortune is too much to handle. Caught in a spiral of delusion inflicted on myself. Can't face what life beholds without screening the risk. What was once a phase is now a trait. That's going back to that first, the natophobia. Fear, normal. Being, a little scared of dying, totally normal. The natophobia is trying to pathologize or saying it can now become such a obsession that you can't live any longer. Back to the lyrics. Of all the defenses in the body, how can responses be so fatal? A reflex that's meant to protect proves autoimmune day in, day out. We had to fall in the curve. The world of concern is upon us, obnoxious, internal, invented, overwhelming, to the end. That's what the song is about. And the last song is called Fear of Silence. And it's even if he this is a really psychologically sociologically interesting album for me. I like smart, thoughtful lyrics. Um and yeah, I didn't expect that I turned it on and I loved it immediately. The lyrics make it an even better listening experience for me. This album's great. So, songs, composition, and track order, an 8.5. This album's awesome. So, overall, I give this an 8.5 out of 10. It might go up a little bit. I keep going back to it. I've had it for over a month now, a month and a half, something like that. This is Regress, a world of concern for fans of Wake, Napalm Death. This is progressive death metal, progressive death grind that you certainly don't want to miss. So it's out on Life After Death on cassette. I think there's a CD version out too. I don't exactly recall who put that out. It might have been Life After Death themselves. This is Regress. This is a world of concern. This is one of my favorite albums so far of 2022. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. And I will talk to you all later. Peace.